So friends, good evening to all of you and welcome to this edition of Suno. As you know, this is a monthly program with or without a theme. So this time we have got a theme of Indian heritage, the ancient Indian heritage and culture. And this is a very apt theme because as you know that under the current scenario, many of us have been thinking of revisiting the Indian culture and heritage because we have read very little about it. De facto, if you look into our school curriculum or any other curriculum for that matter, there is very little which is talked about the ancient Indian culture, the heritage, the great people, the great scholars India have produced. So we thought that let's keep this particular topic of this Indian culture and heritage for this particular edition of Suno. Just a brief background, as you know, that it's a great country. It's a country which is the second largest population. It's got a country which is the seventh largest country of the world in terms of the area. It is the largest democracy of the world. And possibly it is despite the little bit of scars here and there, by and large, it is one of the most pluralistic society we see across the world. Almost all the major religions of the world are existing over here. And it is also the birthplace of the four major religions of the world. They talk about Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. All these religions emanated there, or they had their foundation laid down in the country. It is one of the greatest biodiversical countries of the world. If you look at the Nalanda and Takshila, we know very little scanty about them, but possibly what we learn about them historically, that they are the greatest universities the world has ever seen. And India used to be once upon a time one of the greatest knowledge hubs of the world, not only in terms of the social plurality, the social culture and heritage, but also in terms of the economic prosperity. India used to be the richest, if not one of the richest countries of the world. And therefore, India also produced, as all of you know, that some of the greatest scientists, some of the greatest mathematicians, some of the greatest medical practitioners of the ancient India. Possibly they are the pioneers of the field. So if you talk about Charaka, if you talk about Bharati, if you talk about Brahmagupta, I mean, it's a lot of people like that. If you look at Kannada, all these people, they were in their own fields of the mathematics, in their own fields of the science, in the field of the medicine. They were the pioneers. So we feel proud as we sometimes have a little bit of depressed by looking at the India today, but we definitely feel pride of the ancient India. And therefore we thought that let's try to have this particular, and possibly with this particular theme and the sub-lineage of this particular theme. I'm talking about, this is a very generic of Indian culture and heritage. Probably we will go into the sub-lineage of this particular theme. I mean, try to have some of the sub-Suno program in the future. So that's the background under which we conceptualize this particular program. And it's as I told you, it's a very, very important topic, and we'll try to continue our journey in this particular direction of looking into us, looking into India, looking into Indian culture, and looking at the great Indian heritage. So may I invite the first speaker of the day, Mr. N.K. Agarwal, to kindly share his views and thoughts. Mr. Agarwal, sir, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta and MRL. Good evening to everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank MRL and Dr. Sengupta for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on our unique Indian culture, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This phrase in Sanskrit has come from Vasudha, the earth, Aiva is, and Kutumbakam, family, meaning that the whole world is one single family. The Vedic sages are saying that the entire world is just truly one family. World is like a small, tightly knit nuclear family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is found in Hindu text, the Maha Upanishad, which means the world is one family. The original verse appears in chapter 6 of Maha Upanishad 6.71 to 73. Also found in Rigveda, it is considered the most important moral value in the Indian society. This verse of Maha Upanishad is engraved in the entrance hall of the Parliament of India. The world is a family. One is a relative, the other stranger, say the small-minded. The entire world is a family. Live the magnanimous. Be detached, be magnanimous, lift up your mind, enjoy the fruits of Brahmanic freedom, mentions Maha Upanishad 6.71, 6.75. Our Prime Minister, while speaking at the World Cultural Festival in March 2016, you had used this phrase, adding that Indian culture is very rich and has inculcated in each one of us with great values. We are the people who have come from the Aham Brahmasmi to Vasudeva Kutumbakam. We are the people who have come from Upanishad to Upagraha. Swami Vivekananda also states all differences in the world are in degrees and not of kind, because oneness is the secret of everything. This phrase was used in the logo of the 7th International Earth Science Olympiad, which was held in Mysore in 2013. It was designed to emphasize on the integration of the Earth's subsystems in the school curriculum. Dr. N. Radhakrishnan, former director of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, believes that Gandhian vision of holistic development and respect for all forms of life, non-violent conflict resolution embedded in the acceptance of non-violence, both as a creed and strategy, were an extension of the ancient Indian concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. There are so many scriptures that clearly talk about peace and concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It is a philosophy that teaches an understanding that the whole world is one family. In the present days, embracing the philosophy of Vasudeva Kutumbakam will help the world to come together as one family. Our prayers always start with Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinam, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Badrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukbhag Bhavet, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Meaning, may everyone be happy, may everyone be healthy, may everyone see what is favorable, may no one suffer. We pray that not only ourselves, but everybody will be happy, that everyone will be free from disease, that everyone will experience a good omen. Not only that, this is also the reason why our sacred prayers always end with a prayer for peace for all. To conclude, my friends, our Indian culture is very rich and has imbibed in each one of us with great values. The great Indian tradition exhorts us to see clearly that the apparent differences and separations are like virtual image in a mirror. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agarwal sir. I think you laid the foundation stone of our discussion extremely in a nice and lucid manner. That Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that's the real the spirit of India. That is the oneness in diversity, or the unity in diversity. That has been the universal philosophy of India, and that's one of the reasons why India has survived. Despite several invasions, several periods of operation, we have survived today. Not only we have survived, we have absorbed the various cultures amidst us. Many of the persecuted people like Persians on the one side, Jewish on the other side, the Hebrews on the third side. I mean, so all these cultures we have absorbed because of this particular philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I think Agarwal sir, you spoke very, very well.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
May I request our second speaker, Mr. Ujjwal Roy, to please share his thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, and namaskar to everybody. Today, actually, I have chosen a topic of one of the Upanishad, like Agarwal sir said, one particular aspect of one particular teachings of one Upanishad. Actually, I have gone through some video regarding a Manduki Upanishad teaching, and I want to share that basically. So the first thing is we have, like Sengupta sir said, we have a lot of rich cultural heritage spans across various centuries, and out of them there are Vedas, and Upanishad. And say one of the Upanishad which I came across in this video lecture is that this is a Manduki Upanishad, and it is the Manduka. The basic essence of this discussion is the Manduki Upanishad and how it is going to teach us the type of freedom, liberation, and all those enlightenment. What we want to, everyone wants to get enlightened. Some degree might be different. So Manduka Upanishad says two things. One, the first part they says it is the liberation, and there are different consciousness levels. Actually, as we know, we have different consciousness levels, and in Manduka Upanishad, it is very interestingly defined in 4 stages, 4 consciousness levels. What they say is, in normal state, like now when we are discussing or talking or listening to each other, we are actually in a awakened state. So this is called a waker. We are actually a waker in a awakened state. The next state or the next page, what they are discussing in Manduka Upanishad, that is, they call it as a dreamer stage. So we are actually during our sleep time. Many times we are actually fall asleep, but we experience some dreams which comes into in our mind. So this is one phase. The third phase is, they call it as a deep sleep phase. That means there is no dream, there is no cognition, there is no sensory input or output. And the most interesting part of this lecture session was that the 4th stage, which many people might be knowing, it is we called in Indian tradition, we are calling it as a Turiya state or the 4th state. So Manduka Upanishad actually deals with these 4 states, discusses about the 4 states, and also discusses about how to realize these 4 states and get benefit from this. That is, they are talking about the Om chanting. So Om chanting also is a very popular topic. Many people practice it also, and it is across the world, it is now famous. So how this 4 stages and this Manduka and this Om chanting is actually related, and how to realize this Om to access these 4 states. So what they are telling is, these 4 stages, the awaker stage, the awakened stage, the dream stage, the deep sleep stage, and the 4th stage is, they call it as a silent stage. That means it is nothing, it is just a silence. So we actually experience silence in many ways, and silence has also got a tremendous experience and tremendous significance. So they call it as a 4th state. So the discussion, the main emphasis was here is that this 4th state, actually the silent stage or the Turiya state, actually it is the real stage. And this stage or this consciousness level actually experiences all other visions or all other experiences. Like when you are awakened, our silent state actually witnessing this particular phenomena, this awakening, whatever we are learning, whatever we are listening or seeing. And when you are dreaming also, the silent state is actually witnessing. So all of the 3 states, the dream, the awaken, and the deep sleep, all the 3 states are actually being witnessed by the silent state. So this silent state is a very important, this is a Turiya state, one state of consciousness level, when during deep meditation, this level is achieved. Now, how Om chanting is related to this, that is the second part of the discussion. They call the Om actually is a universal sound, and the Om is divided into 3 parts, 3 letters roughly, that is called A plus U and M. And the 4th letter is actually, they are telling the 4th part is a silence. So when we actually pronounce Om, Om, then there is a silence, the 4th part. So this silence part, so Manduka Upanishad says the O part is actually we have to correlate with our awakened state. The U part is basically our dream state, and the M part, is our this is our deep sleep phase, and then comes the silence. So we actually, if we want to enlighten ourselves with this consciousness level, Om actually is a tool, Om chanting, that helps us to achieve this. And while the Om chanting, we have to actually say, we have to just realize and we have to just imagine that we are in different stage. Om, and this is the actually purpose. And another point they are discussing in Manduki Upanishad is that this silence phase is actually the reality, because whatever I am experiencing, that is my consciousness level. Without me and without my consciousness, nothing exists. Because if I am not seeing, I cannot say whether anything is there or not. So this is the basic philosophy, and the silence part of the Turiya state, and the Om chanting will enlighten you and help you realizing this thing. So, and I can share the link also to Sengupta sir. He can forward it. I think it is a 1.5, almost 1 hour 10 minute video, and I found it very interesting. So I just wanted to share, and I got good inputs from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjwala Sahab. I think I am not an expert on the particular topic of the Manduki Upanishad, but the point which you talked about, the consciousness. There's a lot of discussion. There are lots of debate, and there are lots of research today, universal research today happening not only in India, all over the world, on the concept of the consciousness. That how do I reach into the level of consciousness? So there are various ways of looking at consciousness, and which you talked about Om chanting as a way of going into the silent stage, or the silent part of it. That's a very interesting thing. Kindly send the link, and definitely we'll send the link in the group. Thank you very much. It's a completely different type of exposure which are given. Thank you for that. Our next speaker is Bharat Bhushan ji. May I request Bharat Bhushan ji to please come forward and share his thoughts.
थोड़ा ठंडा हो गया इसके लिए.
नमस्कार सर. हेलो.
आपका थोड़ा गला सुनाई नहीं दे रहा, थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए.
नमस्कार सर. आवाज आ रही है क्या? हेलो.
थोड़ा आस्ते आ रहा है, मेरे को तो धीरे सुनाई दे रहा. I don't know others.
हेलो. हेलो.
And it is a bit low.
Low, sir, low.
No sound.
हेलो.
Low sound आ रहा है, low.
No sound. No, not audible.
हेलो. हेलो.
अच्छा कीजिए.
भूषण जी, आपका साउंड जो है बहुत फीबल आ रहा है, बहुत लो आ रहा है, कम सुनाई दे रहा है.
मैंने तो पूरा वॉल्यूम कर रखा है.
नेट का तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, कोई इंटरनेट का
कह नहीं सकता, वैसे तो सब साफ दिखाई दे रहा है. हेलो. हेलो.
ठीक है, आप चलिए, आप बताइए, सुन रहे, थोड़ा जितना जोर से बोल सके बोलिए आप. चलिए,
या थोड़ी देर बाद ट्राई करूं क्या सर?
ठीक है, थोड़ी देर बाद में ट्राई करिए. ठीक है. मैं तब रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ आर के मोदी साहब, आप आइए और थोड़ा सा अपना अनुभव बताइए.
Thanks, Gupta ji, for giving me opportunity in Sabki Suno program. I will thank also for हम लोगों को उत्साहित करने के लिए सबकी सुनो में जो आपने प्रोग्राम रखा, कितने लोग उत्साहित होकर के इसको कर रहे हैं, इसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत. I am going to talk on Indian culture and heritage in a general terms and way. What is culture? What is heritage? How India culture is unique? What are our heritage? I'm going to talk like this. So now I start. Culture. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible, sir. Please.
Culture refers to the patterns of thought and behavior of people. It includes values, beliefs, rules of conduct, and patterns of social, political, and economic organization. Culture consists of the way in which we think and act as members of the society. Our food, clothes, the language, the god, art, music, literature, architecture, sculpture, philosophy, religion, and science. All are aspects of culture. Culture differs from place to place and country to country. Every country culture is unique. How our Indian culture is unique, I am going to tell this. India can be said as the only place in the world which has a cluster of cultures, and the oldest culture evolved around 5,000 years ago. Our culture is very popular across the world because of its diversity in the field of art, music, literature, and philosophy. The culture in India varies from place to place, as India is multi-ethnic, multilingual, multicultural society. Indian culture is vibrant and famous for its components like etiquette, manners, civilized communication, rituals, beliefs, and values in the whole world. It is the most vibrant culture in the world with different festivals, food items, art and crafts, music, dance, performances, etc. Indian culture has been deeply influenced by Persian, Islamic, and Turkish culture. It is the soul of India, the nation, and is way of life for Indians. Now I will talk on heritage. What is heritage? Heritage is anything that is considered important enough to be passed on to the future generations. Our heritage is what we have inherited from the past to value and enjoy in the present and to preserve and pass on to future generations. Thus, heritage encompasses the history and ideas of people of the country, their values and beliefs, monuments, sites of important past events such as battles of Panipat and the Battle of Haldighati, etc., which are historically famous. Besides, in the category of heritage, we can include arts such as dance, music, etc. A few more examples would be helpful in clarifying the concept of heritage. The Taj Mahal, Red Fort of Agra, Delhi's Qutub Minar, Mysore Palace, etc. There is a long list of such monuments. The intellectual achievements, philosophy, treasures of knowledge, scientific invention, and discoveries are also the part of heritage in Indian context. The contribution of Bodhayan, Aryabhatta, Bhaskaracharya in the field of mathematics, astronomy, and astrology, Patanjali in the field of yoga are profound treasures of Indian cultural heritage. Indian heritage is a gift from the older generation. Indian heritage and the cultures are vast and vivid because of the large number of religious groups residing in our country. Numerous beautiful geological structures found in different parts of India, such as Siachen Glacier, Jammu and Kashmir, Andaman, Leh, etc. All these structures are true wonders of nature and our heritage. There are 40 World Heritage sites located in India, recognized by UNESCO. So the elders should take responsibility to invoke love for the Indian heritage in the younger generation from the very beginning to preserve our rich culture and heritage. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू मोदी साहब, आपने तो पूरा इंडिया का कल्चर एंड हेरिटेज के बारे में सब लोगों को बहुत अच्छा आपने बताया. And I think we got a lot of ideas, lot of names, and those of you are more interested, probably they can look into it. I can add only one thing, that not only the scientist, medical practitioner, and astronomy, India has also produced one of the greatest saints of the world. Just say Adi Shankaracharya ji hai. I mean to say, they are the path-making thought leaders in the space of the spirituality and in the religion. I think we must take this opportunity to recognize those saints, or the great saint that India has produced also. So it was an excellent, good thought. Modi ji, thank you very much.
आवाज आ रही है क्या मेरी?
एक मिनट, मैं रिक्वेस्ट हूँ भारत भूषण जी को तो प्लीज कंटिन्यू हिज थॉट्स। हाँ ठीक है,
आवाज आने लगी? ठीक
आ
है।
रही है, प्लीज गो अहेड।
नमस्कार दोस्तों, सबकी सुनो कार्यक्रम में आज मैं आप सभी को सादर प्रणाम करता हूं, अभिनंदन और अभिवादन करता हूं। सबसे पहले मैं आदरणीय डॉक्टर सेन गुप्ता जी का बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं कि उन्होंने मुझे आज एक सुअवसर प्रदान किया कि आपके सामने अपने मन की कोई बात कह सकूं। आज कल्चर के ऊपर मैं एक छोटी सी कविता अपनी आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूं, जो अपनी संस्कृति से, अपने संस्कारों से संबंधित है। साथियों, आप जानते हैं, मैं जैसा कि मैंने बचपन में पढ़ा था कि मेरा देश भारतवर्ष सोने की चिड़िया कहलाता था। उसी के आधार पर मेरी बहुत छोटी सी रचना है, कृपया सुनिए। एक समय था मेरा भारत सोने की चिड़िया कहलाता था। एक समय था मेरा भारत सोने की चिड़िया कहलाता था। विश्व गुरु बनकर जग को जीने की राह दिखाता था। विश्व गुरु बनकर जग को जीने की राह दिखाता था। घी और दूध की नदियां बहती, सोना बरसे खलिहानों में। प्यार मोहब्बत खेला करते थे आपस में इंसानों में, आपस में इंसानों में। ऐसी चली काल की आंधी, गुलाम हो गया मेरा देश। विलुप्त हो गई संस्कृति अपनी, भूल गए अपना परिवेश, भूल गए अपना परिवेश। और साथियों, एक चीज और याद दिला दूं मैं कि आज से लगभग 60-65 साल पूर्व पंडित प्रदीप ने एक गीत लिखा था, दे दी हमें आजादी बिना खड़ग बिना ढाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल। बचपन में हमने ये गीत बहुत सुना और मन में ये धारणा यही बना ली थी कि हमको जो आज़ादी मिली है वो बिना खड़ग बिना ढाल के अहिंसा के रास्तों पर चलकर मिली है। लेकिन जब बड़े हुए और कुछ समझ आने लगी तो ऐसा लगा कि ऐसा कहकर के हम असंख्य उन वीर शहीदों को तिरस्कार कर रहे हैं, नज़रअंदाज कर रहे हैं, जिनकी कुर्बानी की वजह से हमें ये आज़ादी प्राप्त हुई। इसीलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, कोटि कोटि बलिदान दिए, कोटि कोटि बलिदान दिए, तब जाकर आज़ादी पाई। तन से हम आज़ाद हुए, मानसिकता लेकिन गई न भुलाई, मानसिकता लेकिन गई न भुलाई। भाई भाई का गला काटता, टुकड़े टुकड़े घर आंगन बटता। ऐसे में फिर बोलो कैसे विमल प्रेम का पौधा खिलता, विमल प्रेम का पौधा खिलता। रिश्ते नाते खत्म हो रहे, बिखर रहे सारे परिवार। आजादी से पाया हमने यह कैसा अनुपम उपहार, यह कैसा अनुपम उपहार। ताऊ चाचा मौसा मामा, कोई रिश्ता रहा न बाकी। अब तो केवल अंकल आंटी हैं, भूल गए सब मौसी काकी, भूल गए सब मौसी काकी। पश्चिम की यह लहर देखकर दिल मेरा बहुत ही घबराता है। एक दूसरे से मिलने पर अब तो हाय कहा जाता है, अब तो हाय कहा जाता है। सब कहते हैं हाय, प्रथा ये बड़ी निकम्मी। पूज्य पिताजी डेड हो गए और बनी माताजी मम्मी, और बनी माताजी मम्मी। मंगल कार्य हुआ करते थे हम सबके घर में दीप जलाकर, जन्म दिवस बच्चों का मनाते। अब तो जलती बत्ती बुझाकर, अब तो जलती बत्ती बुझाकर। बहुत समय अब गंवा चुके हैं, अब तो होश में आना होगा। अपने खोए हुए अतीत को फिर वापस घर लाना होगा। जाओ जागो बंधु मित्रों जागो, संस्कार जगाओ, संस्कृति बचाओ। अपने सपनों से भी ज्यादा प्यारा हिंदुस्तान बनाओ, अपने सपनों से भी ज्यादा प्यारा हिंदुस्तान बनाओ। तब अंबर झूम के नाचेगा, हर घर खुशहाली छाएगी। यश वैभव की वर्षा करती, लक्ष्मी खुद चलकर आएगी, लक्ष्मी खुद चलकर आएगी, लक्ष्मी खुद चलकर आएगी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भारत भूषण जी, बहुत ही अच्छा वेकअप कॉल है that if you really want to get back the culture of India, the tradition of India, it is right time that we wake up and try to restore the lost glory of India. Thank you, and Bharat Bhushan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. May I request Ramani Iyer Sahab to please share his thoughts?
Thank you, Sangupta sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, friends. India is socially, culturally, and linguistically very diverse. There exist thousands of traditions and customs in India, depending on the region, the religion, and the age of that particular people. But the crux of Indian culture has always been to be polite and respectful to others. In my talk today, I propose to discuss just 3 unique Indian customs which are at the root of our cultural heritage. The first one is the most fascinating and the popular Indian custom of greeting each other with a namaste, a traditional gesture of respect made by bringing the palms together before the face or chest and bowing. The namaste or namaskar or namaskaram is one of the 5 forms of traditional greetings mentioned in the ancient Indian scriptures. It translates to I bow to you, and greeting one another with it is a way of saying may our minds meet, just as the palms are meeting, indicated by the folded palms placed before the chest. The Sanskrit word namaha can also be translated as na, ma, not mine, to signify the reduction of one's ego in the presence of the other person. Although the greeting with a namaskar or namaste is an ubiquitous part of Indian culture, it caught international attention when Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General, greeted everyone with a namaste at the Times Square in New York on the first International Yoga Day. Being a non-contact form of greeting, this form of greeting had received widespread global acceptance during the pandemic ambience. This gesture is said to express honor, courtesy, politeness, hospitality, and gratitude to other persons. And uniquely, this greeting is used both for welcoming as well as for bidding farewell. It is namaste. The second custom which I propose to take up is respect for elders, which is unique in the Indian tradition. Respect for elders is a major component of Indian culture. An individual takes blessings from his elders by touching their feet. The practice of touching the feet of elders was adopted in India during the Vedic period and is called Charan Sparsh. There appears to be a scientific reason behind touching the feet, which many of you may be aware of. The left side of the body is said to carry the negative energy, while the right side of the body carries positive energy. When a person touches the feet of an elderly or a scholarly person, the two bodies connect with each other, creating a completed circuit for the flow of positive energy. According to tradition, when you touch the feet of an elderly or scholarly person, you are blessed with knowledge, intellect, strength, and fame that are latent in the elderly person. The third unique custom, which is prevalent in some of the South Asian countries, but mainly in some parts of India, is eating with hands sitting on the floor with food served on food served on banana leaves. Sitting cross-legged is an old custom in India. In fact, it is even called the Bharatiya Baitak. The Ayurveda, the traditional Indian system of medicine, explains that human bodies are in synchronization with the 5 elements of nature and that each finger is an extension of these elements. It is believed that when all the 5 fingers are joined together in the form of a bowl while consuming food, there is physical and spiritual connection which enhances the sensory taste and satisfaction. Modern science also seems to be in favor of eating food with hands. It is reason that when food is touched with fingers, the nerve endings at the fingertips send signals to the digestive system to start secreting the relevant digestive juices, thus improving digestion. All of you will agree with that it is much more comfortable to eat authentic Indian food items like puri, roti, naan, and dosa using the fingers than using the spoons. Eating with fingers is widely prevalent in Nepal, Sri Lanka, and some parts of India. The Korea Food Research Institute has decided to popularize in different regions of Asia the Indian method of eating by sitting on the floor because of the multitudinous advantages. In the olden days, people used leaves and appropriate vessels, ate with hands by sitting on the floor, and had a very, very long life. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was a wonderful exposition of the three essential customs which are associated with the Indian culture. Whether you are talking about a namaskaram, whether you're talking about patting the feet of the elders with the respect, or whether you're talking about sitting on the floor and eating with the hands. I think these are the three essential parts of the core values of the Indian system. Not only that they are scientifically backed, but they are also integral part of our culture. You know, they show the oneness with the others. They show the bound down before the others. Not only the bound down with others, bound down before the Almighty. Whatever you talk about, essentially they are extremely a good customs. Let me put in that way, they're extremely physically meaningful, and they're cognitively very strong customs, which you brought up very, very nicely. And thanks for exposition of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I request now Mr. Naveen Duggal to please come forward?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, you can.
Loud, okay. Namaskaram, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal. Good evening, everybody. Salam alaikum. I am trying to greet in the way of Namaste and expressing my words. But at times, without words also, if you just put your hands together, we are giving the right gesture of our expression and emotion, and I belong to you. Sangha Chatvama. Further, I will not be saying, because most of my experts, thanks to Dr. Sen Gupta ji for allowing me to speak few lines, I do agree that this is a very wide topic and we should be proud to be Indians. Mera Desh Mahan, we are one. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. And we always sing our national anthem, which was written by Rabindranath Tagore, and stand up with respect and be proud of being Indians. Another thing is, Vande Mataram is our national song, which we sing when Azadi ki time or any other time. But there are so many things. We have the variety of things of paintings, sculptures, coins, idols, that is movable heritage. And there is the immovable heritage like monuments, cultural heritage, historical buildings, etc. But many of us forget to see or for example, the new coin, the new note. At the back, always it is now showing a very close picture. What it shows is this belongs to a certain temple, Konark temple. Another 20 rupees note shows something, which is a historical thing. Third one is also, you might be knowing all this. The beauty of all this is that India, not only the Mahatma Gandhi's note, but also the back of that, and also the 500 rupees note is showing our, Lal Killa. So by this way, we are trying to emphasize, remind us that we are one. But on the coins, every coin has written Satyamev Jayate, whether it is 5 rupees coin, 10 rupees coin. How it is a soft reminder for us. Wake up. We should be proud of what you are doing in the right way. Our sanskara and whatever we got it from our parents, grandparents, the property inheritance and the culture of different places, different areas, food habits. But we should adapt to each other and respect each other and not have differences, because in the previous time there was casteism and there were differentiation. But no matter what you are, where you are and how you are, it is we the Indians. It is Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Jai Ho. All these songs inspire us brings us the vibration that we are something different, not because of our face and religion or color, but we are coming from that spiritual, pious place called India, Bharat. And for that, I want to thank everyone, whether you are here or abroad. But for the last 40 years, I observed in the Gulf, where it was a hatred that you're not supposed to speak about Indians or any Hindu religion or songs. Today, you'll be happy to hear that every place we have a temple, a Gurdwara, a Buddhism or whoever, Jainism, whatever they believe. We celebrate all these festivals with pomp and show, whether it is south or north or northeast, doesn't matter. The beauty of that is that all of us as Indians, through the Indian Embassy or the associations, get together and make it as a great success. With that, I just want to share, let's not bring these small things of our differences, but let's bring the tolerance, the acceptance. Atitipan means we accept you and offer water, or not only to the human being, to the animals, to the environment, grow some trees, do something good so that our identity is all times valid and it will remain till the infinity. Thank you very much. Jai Mata Di. Bharat Mata ki Jai Ho. Bharat Mata ki Jai Ho. Bharat Mata ki Jai Ho. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen Dukkalji. I think Bharat Mata ki Jai Ho. You reminded all about that's the most important thing, that it's not one religion, it's not one sect. It is a Bharat. It is the concept of a Bharat, a concept of an Akhanda Bharat, which is possibly more important for all of us, irrespective of the religions, culture, languages we speak. We must stand united for a great India, and we should be proud as Indians. Possibly that's what we are focused for, that we should be proud of as Indian, whether you are in India or whether you're outside the India, and that will bring back the cultural glory of India. Thank you very much, Naveen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for blessing.
May I request our next speaker of the day, Dr. Vishwanathan, V.N. Vishwanathan, to share his thoughts.
Hello, thank you, Dr. Sen Gupta, and thanks to all of you of the foundation. And I also thank very much the previous speakers who have given very interesting talks. This evening, I would like to give you a short introduction to the philosophical heritage of the whole Indian subcontinent, because this is one area where I think Indians, though they enjoy various religions and religious practices, they are not aware of the roots of their own heritage in terms of philosophy. There have been thousands of sages, thousands of saints, such as Vyasa, Kapila, Jaimini, Janaka, Shankara, Gautama, Vasishtha, so on and so forth, who have founded a number of schools. Interestingly, it is only after Max Muller in the 18th century, a Sanskrit professor by profession, set out to systematically study these various Indian philosophies. Such an analysis has been done, but he translated them to English. And his book, The Sixth System of Indian Philosophy, actually opened the eyes of the Western world to what is really unique about India. So I was lucky to get in touch with his book, and much of the material comes from there. And actually, all the philosophical heritage for us is said to come from two sources, Shrutam or Shruti and Smriti, which roughly translates to revelation, and the second Smriti is reflection and recollection, these two. You take, for example, Vedas, which are well known, 4 Vedas, and principal Upanishads, there are 10 of them. These are considered revelation or Shruti, and the rest of it, like the various Puranas and epics and everything, they are considered to be Smritis, except perhaps Bhagavad Gita, which is again the word of God, which means it's a revelation. Here, the point is, revelation is supposed to be divine, and the recollection part is supposed to be human. And the role of the human part, the smritam, is really to elaborate and explain, interpret, and clarify the primary revelation. So now it stands to reason that that is, there are people who accept the authority of Vedas and Upanishads, and there don't, the philosophical schools, in terms of philosophical schools. And so they are termed as Astikas and Nastikas. Nastika does not mean atheist. Nastika means heterodox, or those who do not accept the authority of Vedas and Upanishads, such as Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, whatever. So the main goal of both orthodox and heterodox schools is to end human suffering and achieve freedom. So this is something that, what we call as liberation or moksha, that is the common goal of all these philosophies. Now, here broadly, there are, I told you that there are two sets of philosophies, but when you look at Astika schools, these Astika schools, can be understood in terms of darshanas, or what we call as approaches. We can say approaches in roughly translating. And there are 6 darshanas. See, all these thousands of scholars, saints and sages, whatever they wrote, interestingly, they fall into one of these major categories, which can be mentioned here as Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, and finally Uttara Mimamsa, also known as Vedanta. So I'll go over each of these briefly. Actually, Nyaya, if you take Nyaya, that deals with what is the valid means of knowledge. It refers to logic, that is, use logical approaches to gain right knowledge. And these logical approaches are perception, that is pratyaksha, inference, that is anumana, comparison, that is upamana, and testimony, that is shabda. So there are invalid knowledge source. Invalid knowledge involves memory, doubt, error, hypothesis, prejudice, and so on. Thus, what is Nyaya? Nyaya is all about the means of obtaining the right knowledge. Now, I'll come to Vaiseshika. The word Vaiseshika is derived from the word Visesha. Visesha means special attribute. Thus, when you employ the correct means, you get the right knowledge about the world and the world beyond. So, basically, the Vaisheshika philosophers, they try to understand the phenomenal world as composed of dravya, that is different types of material, such as the atoms of the 5 elements, and so on. And also, there are individual souls, and the law of karma governs what happens to the individual lives. So they believe in that, the law of cause and effect. And interestingly, the point here they make is that the effect is not contained in the cause. That is, for example, if you combine atoms of different types of the 5 elements, you get effects which are completely new. So that's what they believed. So in a sense, this Vaiseshika school, which actually can be considered as the application of the Nyaya principles, it deals with physics and metaphysics. That is, they believe in the law of karma and so on. So this is consistent also with Vedas and Upanishads. So you will see that Nyaya and Vaiseshika are related. Now the third one is Sankhya. When you look at Sankhya, it literally means to count, and it can be said to represent rationality. So whereas Nyaya Vaiseshika is said to deal with physics and metaphysics, Sankhya really deals with consciousness and nature. And they're termed as Purusha and Prakriti in Sanskrit. And the interaction of Prakriti and Purusha starts the chain of evolution and creates people with guna. For example, the 3 gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva, which you all heard, they become part of Prakriti. That is, they're manifested when Purusha comes into contact with Prakriti and produces human beings. So that is Sankhya. And actually, Sankhya forms the foundation, the basis of yoga philosophy, that perhaps we don't think about that way. Yoga philosophy and practice actually draws on Sankhya, I said, and the goal really is to minimize tamas, rajas, and enhance sattva. You know what those words mean. I don't have to explain to you. So which is goodness, sattva. So the goal of yoga is union which is attained when sattva prevails completely. Union of the individual soul with the cosmic soul, you can say. So yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. The purpose of doing yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, there are several steps to it, is really about the ending of one's own thinking, which leads to silence that earlier speakers actually have talked about. And Patanjali's Yoga Sutras elaborate all of these. So the 3 stages, are sadhana pada, Vibhuti-pada, and Kavilya-pada. It is part of yoga. Now, that brings me, so you see that the Sankhya and yoga, they are again related, they're complementary. And now I come to the last two of the darshanas, which are known as Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. So what is Purva Mimamsa? Purva Mimamsa deals with the Karma Kanda, and Uttara Mimamsa deals with Jnana Kanda. That means the first one refers to our duties, and the second one refers to our what we need to get in terms of jnana, the pure knowledge that leads us to liberation. So then actually, why do we have these two? So the answer is Purva Mimamsa is said to address Dharma Jignasa. That means our earnestness, interest in understanding Dharma. Whereas the Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa, it is said to address Brahma Jignasa. That means our curiosity, our interest, our earnestness in understanding Brahman, the ultimate, and the relationship between Atman and Brahman. So among all these darshanas, you must have known that the most interesting and popular darshana is Vedanta, which is Uttara Mimamsa, which literally means ending of knowledge. So if you look at Vedanta itself, there are several, there are supposed to be 7 main schools of Vedanta, of which 3 are most well known. So what are these 3? These are Advaita, Visishtadvaita, and Dvaita. So, and again, among these, I don't want to rank in terms of popularity, but without going much into comment, to me, what makes most sense is Advaita, which literally means non-dualism, which is the principle of oneness of Atman and Brahman. So let me, because I mentioned about Advaita, let me also summarize briefly what actually is Advaita. It is, there are just 3 statements, and if you can understand these 3 statements, then perhaps you can understand what Advaita is. The world is unreal. Whatever you see around is illusory. That is assertion number 1. Brahman alone is real. Second statement. And the third statement is there is no difference between Brahman and Atman, which is the most difficult part to understand. Though you can intellectually try to relate to the first 2 statements, the third is really tough. And there is another statement that is related to these 3, that is, the whole world is Brahman. Though the world is unreal, it does not mean that the illusory world that we are witnessing is not part of Brahman. So because Brahman includes everything, it includes illusion as well. So as long as the world is seen to be real, dualities exist. So this unreality of the world makes sense only when the world, only when you are able to perceive it, only when you are able to see that it is a dream. It is just a elaborate dream. So that's basically what Advaita is. Now I will go into the other 2 very briefly, Visishtadvaita and Dvaita. So basically, Visishtadvaita doctrine says that the Atman is not identical to Brahman, as Advaita asserts, but rather it is part of Brahman, and it is and Brahman always rather there is you can relate it to something like the sun and its ray. The ray is not the sun, but the ray is part of the sun, and ray can never be the sun. So the prominent Acharya who expounded this doctrine is Ramanuja. There are several others. And finally, Dvaita basically means that the individual soul and the universal soul, they are always separate. Though the whole thing is part of one system, the individual soul can only be proximal to the universal soul, but they can never be one and the same. So basically, I tried to cover the whole spectrum in a few words. But this really, to go into each one of these definitely takes a tremendous amount of time. So I will stop at this point, and I'll be happy to answer if you have any questions, or if you don't have time, perhaps Sen Gupta can move on to the next speaker.
I think, Vishwanathan, what we do is we'll move on to the next speaker. But before that, I thank you very much for the excellent exposition given. in a very brief time and a few words, as you always give, regarding the total aspects of the Indian philosophy, the Indian way of looking life. Let me put it that way of looking like, starting from the Shruti Smriti to the five philosophies, and then the three principal thoughts in the Vedanta philosophy. What you gave was excellent, and we look forward to your detailed input, possibly one other day.
Sure.
We will mutually decide that day, where you can talk on at depth all these concept of the Advaita, and Visishwadvaita. We can talk about all those things in a particular day. Thank you, Vishi, for giving an excellent exposition. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
May I request the next speaker, Ramani Murthy, madam?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, madam.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you. Good evening, friends. And I thank immensely to Dr. Sengupta for giving me this opportunity to speak. I think this is the second or the third time I'm speaking, but not on this topic. All have spoken about culture and heritage. My topic is little different. Anyways, let's me start. Today I'm going to speak about Sri Sita Ramchandra Swami Temple, Bhadrachalam. This temple is dedicated to Lord Rama, a prominent avatar of Bhagwan Vishnu. It is located on the banks of river Godavari in the town of Bhadrachalam, in the east Telangana. The temple is considered as one of the Divya Kshetrams of Godavari and also revered as Dakshina Ayodhya. It was constructed circa 17th century Common Era by Kancharella Gopanna. The central icon features the four-armed Vaikuntha, the form of Bhagwan Vishnu, appeared in to answer Bhadra's prayers. Bhakti saint Kancharella Gopanna, also known as Bhadrachala Ramadasu. Gopanna was a revenue officer of Bhadrachalam under the reign of the last Sultan of Golconda, Abul Hasan Qutub Shah. Gopanna was accused and arrested of using funds meant for the Sultanate treasury to build the temple. He spent 12 years in jail, where he composed bhakti songs on Rama, still sung at this temple. Before Golconda Sultanate collapsed during Aurangzeb's expansion of the Mughal control of the Deccan region, Gopanna was released by Sultan Tana Shah. When Bhagwan Ram himself appeared with Lakshmana to pay gold coins, Sultan demanded for Gopanna's release. The Bhadrachalam temple was completed in second half of 17th century at a cost of nearly 6 lakhs gold varahas. The temple has 4 entrances and there are 50 steps to be climbed to reach the main entrance. In 1974, a huge door named Vaikuntha Dwaram was built. Directly opposite to the sanctum is a gold-plated Dhwaja Stambham. It is made up of Panchaloha, a 5-metal alloy, on which are carved images of Garuda, the Vahana of Bhagwan Vishnu. On the top of the Vimana is the 8-faced Sudarshana Chakra with 1,000 corners that was engraved by Gopanna, who found it lying in the waters of Godavari river. The temple is divided into 3 parts. The first is believed to be the head of Bhadra, where the shrine is dedicated to him. Inside on a rock, the supposed footprints of Rama can be seen, so that the visitors can recognize it as Bhadra's head. The second part of the temple is a sanctum where the central icon resides on a place considered equivalent to Bhadra's heart. The central icon housed in the sanctum is considered Swayambhu. Bhagwan Ram is sealed in a Padmasana posture with Sita seated on his lap. Rama's 4 hands hold the conch, disc, bow, and arrow. Lakshmana stands on his left. The third part is the Rajgopuram main tower, which is located at Bhadra's feet. Friends, it is a beautiful temple and a must see whenever you visit Telangana. Jai Shri Ram. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramani Murthy Garu. I think Bhadrachalam temple is definitely one of the best temples that one should see at least in lifetime. Thank you very much for giving a meticulous exposition of the temple. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
We come to the last speaker of the day, but definitely not the least. Jail Chaudhary Sahab, may I request you to kindly share your thoughts.
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार।
Namaskar. Namaskar.
मैं आपके सामने आज अपनी एक छोटी सी प्रस्तुति पेश कर रहा हूं। आज हम यहाँ पर जितने लोग भी एकत्रित हैं, वो सब हिंदुस्तान की आजादी के बाद के ही जन्मे लोग हैं। तो या तो 70 वर्ष के हो चुके हैं या 70 के आसपास होंगे या थोड़ा आगे होंगे। मैंने लिखा है कि 1950 और 2022 के बीच के लोग हैं जो 70 को पार कर चुके हैं या उसके करीब हैं, उनके लिए ये रचना बहुत खास है। मेरा मानना है कि दुनिया में जितना बदलाव हमारी पीढ़ी ने देखा है, हमारे बाद किसी भी पीढ़ी को शायद ही देखना पड़े। हम वो आखिरी पीढ़ी हैं जिसने बैलगाड़ी से लेकर सुपरसोनिक जेट तक देखे हैं। बैरंग खत वो होते थे जो बिना पोस्टेज स्टैंप लगाए भेजे जाते थे। बैरंग खत से लेकर लाइव चैटिंग तक देखा है। वर्चुअल मीटिंग
We are not able to hear you.
भी क्या है। हम वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने बचपन में मोहल्ले के मैदानों में अपने दोस्तों के साथ परंपरागत गिल्ली डंडा, छुपा छिपी, खो खो और कबड्डी जैसे खेल खेले हैं। हम आखिरी पीढ़ी के वो लोग हैं शायद जिन्होंने चांदनी रात में डिबरी या लालटेन या बल्ब की पीली रोशनी में होमवर्क किया है और दिल के उजाले में चादर के अंदर छिपाकर नॉवेल भी पढ़े हैं। हम वही लोग हैं जिन्होंने अपनों के लिए अपने जज्बात खतों में आदान प्रदान किए हैं और उन खतों के पहुंचने और जवाब के वापस आने में महीनों तक इंतजार भी किया है। हम उसी आखिरी पीढ़ी के लोग हैं जिन्होंने कूलर, एसी या हीटर के बिना ही बचपन गुजारा है, बिना और बिजली के बिना गुजारा भी किया है और पढ़ा भी है। हम वो आखिरी लोग हैं जो अक्सर अपने छोटे बालों में
आवाज नहीं आ रही सर।
हेलो
चौधरी जी, आवाज नहीं आ रही चौधरी जी। Now, I think Chaudhary ji network का issue है, so I think we will take your this thing somewhere else, sometime else, because we're not able to hear anything. So friends, with that, we come to, unfortunately, we could not listen to Mr. Jail Chaudhary's the self-written poem. We will listen to it some other time, some other day. With this, come to the end of this particular session of the Sabki Suno program. It was an excellent session on the various aspects of the Indian culture, various aspects of the Indian tradition, including description of a temple, which came out very nicely. We will look forward to having, as we told, this series and the sublinear of this particular series in the subsequent Sabki Suno Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this particular program. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
बहुत ज्ञान मिला सबसे।